I can't stand criticism. One bit.
Well, you're in the wrong business.
I know.
Who knew that being a Hollywood celebrity came with a hidden racist past? Think your favorite celebrity is all about equality? Think again, because some of them have a very different side you would never imagine at all. Number 20, Walt Disney. What was the true magical kingdom like behind Disney's friendly public image? The creator of Mickey Mouse and countless childhood cartoons, Walt Disney built an entertainment empire that continues to impact global culture. But what was it really like working for the man behind the mouse? Former employees say contrasting stories. Some support his character, while others, like animator Bill Melendez, describe a different Disney, one who showed clear biases against certain groups. He was proven to be racist when his interactions with Nazi filmmaker Leni Riefenstahl and discriminatory hiring activities were seen. The company's 1938 letter rejecting to consider women for creative positions reveals the gender bias of the time. Even his beloved films contained problematic elements like The Crows in Dumbo and Song of the South. It wasn't until 1957 that Disney hired its first African-American animator, Floyd Norman. Number 19, John Wayne. How did Hollywood's ultimate cowboy hero reveal views that stunned even his biggest fans?
Now you understand. Anything goes wrong, anything at all. Your fault, my fault, nobody's fault. It don't matter. I'm gonna blow your head off.
Standing tall at 6'5", John Wayne embodied American courage and masculinity for generations. His portrayal of Rooster Cogburn in True Grit got him an Oscar in 1970. But beneath the heroic image lay controversial issues that came to light in a 1971 Playboy interview. The Duke, as he was known, openly expressed support for white supremacy and made negative comments about Native Americans. His views on race, land ownership, and social well-being utterly differed from the civil rights movement of the time. Even when Marlon Brando sent Native American activist Asheen Little Feather to refuse his Oscar in protest of Hollywood's treatment of Native Americans, Wayne reportedly had to be controlled by security from confronting her. Though his career didn't suffer significantly at the time, his legacy remains complex, leading to recent debates about withdrawing his name from Orange County Airport. Number 18, James Stewart. America's most beloved good guy concealed his darker side. Jimmy Stewart, the Oscar-winning actor and decorated war hero, portrayed wholesome characters that made him seem like everyone's friendly human. Yet, behind the scenes, his behavior showed troubled aspects of his personality. His treatment of black actors, particularly during the shooting of his 1971 TV sitcom, exposed deep racial prejudices. He commanded the replacement of Hal Williams, a black actor cast as a police officer, and reportedly used racial slurs during the filming of The Man Who Shot Liberty Valance. Even his close relationship with Henry Fonda was tested by their political differences, causing a physical fight and an agreement to never discuss politics again. Number 17, Henry Ford. The maker of the assembly line and the $5 workday changed American manufacturing forever. However, Ford used his impact to spread anti-Semitic conspiracy theories through his newspaper, the Dearborn Independent. His views are so high that they received praise from Adolf Hitler. While offering higher wages to workers, Ford implemented strict control over their private lives, sending inspectors to ensure they lived according to his standards. His Americanization program forced settlers to abandon their cultural identities, and his factories maintained racial separation. His anti-union stance led to rough confrontations, including the not-so-famous Battle of the Overpass in 1937, where union organizers were cruelly beaten. Number 16, Bing Crosby. What dark secret was behind Bing Crosby's smooth voice and handsome smile?
Oh, white Christmas with no snow.
While many remember Crosby for his melodious Christmas songs and films, there was another end to this entertainment icon. Born in 1903, he rose to fame during the period when entertainment often included troubling racial elements. Though he formed a friendship with Louis Armstrong and encouraged African-American artists, his career included, at most, 4 blackface performances. Even in the 1954 film White Christmas, he showcased Mandy, a song with roots in minstrel shows. Despite having genuine respect for artists like Armstrong, Crosby's casual use of racial slurs reflected the deep-seated actions of his time. Like many of his contemporaries, which included Frank Sinatra and Judy Garland, he participated in practices that preserved harmful stereotypes. Number 15. Don Imus. Many Hollywood stars began their careers in radio, using it as a stepping stone for fame and successful opportunities. What shocking comment ended a 30-year radio career in just a matter of days? Well, Don Imus learned this lesson the hard way. Before his downfall, he was one of the top names in radio. His show, Imus in the Morning, had been running successfully for 30 years, and he was famous for pushing boundaries with his great humor. People even kept his name as the good-natured racist, because he often made controversial jokes, but seemed to get away with it. But in 2007, everything changed. During his show, he made a bad comment about the Rutgers women's basketball team, calling them nappy-headed hoes. This wasn't just another joke that would blow over. This time, people were super angry. At first, NBC News and CBS Radio tried to control it with a 2-week suspension. They probably thought this would be enough to calm things down. However, civil rights leaders Al Sharpton and Jesse Jackson got involved in this. They led campaigns asking for Imus to be suspended. The pressure kept building until both networks had no choice but to fire him permanently. It was shocking how quickly this happened. One day he was a radio king, and the next day he was out of a job. But here's the twist. Imus wasn't done yet. Less than a year later, he somehow managed to get back on the radio with a new show on WABC. He brought in a new cast and tried to start over. He kept airing until he died in 2019 at age 79.
Imus in the Morning has passed away at the age of 79. The cause of his death has not been revealed, but a family representative confirms to CNN that he had been in the hospital since Christmas Eve.
His story shows how a single moment of racism can destroy decades of someone's success, but also how some people still manage to find second chances in the entertainment industry. Number 14. Paula Deen. Before 2013, Paula was everyone's favorite Southern cook on TV. People loved her pretty smile, her butter-loving cooking recipes, and her warm personality. She had cooking shows in restaurants. Everything was perfect until it wasn't. The problem started when Lisa T. Jackson, a manager at one of Deen's restaurants, filed a harassment lawsuit. During the court case, Deen had to answer certain questions under oath. That's when things got really wild. She admitted to using racial slurs in the past and allowing racist jokes in her cafes. But the terrible part was when she talked about wanting to create a Southern-style plantation wedding for her brother. The wedding idea came from a restaurant she'd visited where all the employees were black and had to dress in white jackets with black bow ties, like something from the old South. When people heard about this, they were stunned. It wasn't just about bad words anymore. It showed how she thought about race. Deen tried to fix things by posting tons of apology videos on YouTube. She said things like, color of your skin, your religion, your sexual preferences does not matter. But people needed to trust it. They felt like she was only apologetic because she got caught, not because she understood why her actions were wrong. If you think she made the most dreadful comment on racism, wait until you hear the next one. Number 13. Anthony Cumia. What Times Square photo session led to the downfall of a radio shock jock? Sometimes a simple photo can end everything. Just ask Anthony Cumia. He was half of the very famous radio team Opie and Anthony, and they'd been making people laugh for almost 20 years. Their show was doing really well on Sirius XM, where they'd been since 2004. They were known for pushing different boundaries and saying outrageous things, but they usually knew where to draw the line. Then came that day in Times Square in 2014. Cumia was taking pictures, something he liked to do just as a hobby. According to him, a woman accidentally got in his photo frame. He said she got angry about being photographed and attacked him out of the blue. But what happened next was entirely his choice, and it was surely the wrong one. Instead of handling it calmly and professionally, Cumia went on a racist rant on Twitter. He called the woman a savage and started making bad comments about black people and violence. He probably thought his tweets would disappear into the internet, but someone at Gawker saved them all. This wasn't the first time Cumia had been in chaos. The show had dealt with several controversies before, but this time was different. His tweets were so clearly racist that Sirius XM couldn't ignore them. They said his act was wholly inconsistent with what Sirius XM represents. In other words, they couldn't have someone so openly give racist views on their platform. They suspended him, ending a partnership that had lasted a decade. Just like that, some angry tweets destroyed years of his success. It shows how social media can be extremely dangerous. When you're angry and have a platform, one bad moment can erase years of career building. Number 12, Roseanne Barr. This is a story about how success can vanish in just 280 characters. In 2018, Roseanne Barr was on top of the world. Her show Roseanne had just come back to television after being off the air for more than 20 years. And guess what? People loved it. The show's return was huge. It got ABC's biggest ratings in over 10 years. Everyone was talking about how great it was to have Roseanne back. But late one night, Roseanne made a very bad decision. She went on Twitter and posted something racist about Valerie Jarrett, who used to work for President Obama. She compared Jarrett, a woman of color, to a character from Planet of the Apes. The tweet was so horrifying that people couldn't believe what they were reading. ABC didn't even wait around to see what would happen next. Even though the show was making them lots of dollars, and they'd already planned another season, they canceled it right away. Just like that, hundreds of people lost their jobs because of a single person's racist tweet. Roseanne tried really hard to fix things. She tweeted several sorry comments and blamed her behavior on taking Ambien, a sleeping medicine. But then she did something that made people doubt if she was really sorry. She got angry at her co-worker, Sarah Gilbert, and Michael Fishman when they said her racist tweet was wrong.
What possible excuse have you got for why you did this? Why you did such an egregious, unforgivable thing? And I said, I have no excuse. And then I just said, let me go on The View tomorrow and explain that and apologize that, I've made a mistake.
Number 11, Megyn Kelly. Megyn Kelly was a top name in television, so big that NBC paid her $69 million to join them. But she already had a history of saying controversial stuff about race. Remember when she insisted Santa Claus could only be white? That should have been a total warning sign. In 2018, during the Halloween season, Kelly decided to talk about costumes on her show, Megyn Kelly Today. She had an all-white panel discussing whether blackface was okay to use in dresses. Kelly appeared confused about why it would be offensive, saying, "What is racist? When I was a kid, that was okay, as long as you were dressing like a character." The reaction was immediate. People were really shocked that someone on national TV didn't understand why blackface was offensive. It's worth noting that blackface has a long and painful history in America of being used to mock and degrade black people. Kelly tried to fix things in two different ways. First, she sent an email to NBC staff saying she'd never been a PC type of person. Then she went on the air the next day to apologize and strangely got over with a standing ovation. But NBC had seen enough.
I want to begin with 2 words. I'm sorry.
They started by replacing her show with reruns and then they canceled it completely. Number 10, Don Cherry. How did a mere comment about a Veterans Day poppy bring an end to the career of an iconic hockey commentator?
I'll tell you one thing, he was a better hockey player. He's a good hockey player now, a better hockey player when he was 18.
It's fascinating how being extremely famous in Canada can give you the freedom to say almost anything and everything for 40 years and still get away with it. That was Don Cherry. He was like the grandfather of hockey commentary, known for his loud outfits and even louder opinions. People expected him to be controversial, but it was part of his charm. But in 2019, during a shot called Coach's Corner, Cherry went too far. He was talking about Remembrance Day like Veterans Day in America and the red poppies people wear to honor veterans. He noticed that in Toronto, where many settlers live, he didn't see many people wearing poppies. Instead of just supporting everyone to wear poppies, he said something that hurt a lot of people's feelings. He said, "You people love your way of life, love your milk and honey. At least you could pay a couple of bucks for poppies." The phrase, "you people," was clearly aimed at new immigrants, and it hit a nerve. This wasn't Cherry's first time making such controversial comments. He criticized Colin Kaepernick for kneeling down during the national anthem. He made fun of European hockey players for years. Back in 1990, he even protested about immigrants taking jobs, but this time was different. Sportsnet, his employer, decided it was time for Cherry to leave. They said sports brings people together. It unites us, not divides us.
I can't stand criticism. One bit.
Well, you're in the wrong business.
I know, but I can't stand criticism.
Number 9, Walter Brennan. A 3-time Academy Award winner known for his glamour and versatility, Walter Brennan captivated audiences with a lot of his westerns and family comedies.
That is right, Mr. Dunson, but might be.
Starting in vaudeville before transitioning to radio and film, he seemed like the ideal grandfather figure. However, behind his folksy personality lay extreme political and racist views. He strongly opposed the civil rights movement, viewing it as just a communist plot. His obsession led him to build a bunker in his home, preparing for what he believed would be a Soviet invasion. As a member of the John Birch Society, he used his beloved character, Grandpa Amos's voice, to spread controversial racist messages. His response to the deaths of civil rights leaders showed a troubling lack of empathy and revealed a lot of deep-seated prejudices. Number 8, Taylor Selfridge. Now, how did tweets from 2012 suddenly end a reality star's career in 2020? This story shows how your previous social media post can come back to scare you years later. Taylor Selfridge was doing very well on MTV's Teen Mom OG. She was even about to have her own special segment about becoming a mother. But then something from her past surfaced, which were the tweets she'd written in 2012 and 2013. These weren't just any other tweets, but they were clearly racist, including one where she wrote that she wouldn't greet black customers at work because they scared her. Now here's the twist. MTV knew about these tweets already. They'd even shown another cast member, Cheyenne Floyd, confronting Selfridge about them on the show. But in 2020, with the Black Lives Matter movement growing stronger and stronger, MTV decided they needed to take stronger action. They pulled back Selfridge's special right before it was supposed to air and ended their relationship with her completely. They said they strongly condemn systematic racism. Selfridge tried to lie about the story by saying it was her choice to leave. She posted on Instagram saying she didn't think reality TV was good for her anymore. She also criticized MTV, saying they had double standards about what behavior they allowed from different people. Number 7, Abby Lee Miller. Now, what do you think caused the dance instructor's virtual show to be canceled before it began? Well, here's a story about how trying to support a cause can backfire when your previous actions don't match your current message. Abby Lee Miller was very famous for being the tough and rough dance teacher on Dance Moms for 8 seasons. She was so popular that Lifetime planned to give her a new show called Abby's Virtual Dance-Off. In 2020, during the Black Lives Matter protest, Miller did what many celebs were doing. She posted a black square on Instagram to show her support. But this simple act opened a flood of memories for her former dance students and their families.
Because of the vultures in this room, that poor kid has to go like this.
Abby.
No.
And you know what?
You know who creates the vultures?
It's you. Because you try to turn...
Adriana Smith, whose daughter Cameron was on the show, couldn't stay silent. She shared a painful story about how Miller had once said to her, "I know you grew up in the hood with only a box of 8 crayons, but I grew up in the country club with a box of 64. Don't be stupid." This comment portrayed how Miller looked down on people based on their background and race. Lifetime, the TV network, took these allegations seriously. They didn't just suspend Miller's upcoming virtual show, but they cut all ties with her. It was a powerful reminder that posting a black square doesn't make up for years of racist behavior she has had. Miller later apologized on Instagram, but for many, it was too little, or maybe a little too late. Number 6, Hartley Sawyer. Sometimes your past holds on to you when you least expect it. Hartley Sawyer was living the dream. He played a superhero called Ralph Dibny on The Flash for 3 whole seasons. Fans loved him, and his career was going great. Then someone found his old Twitter account. The tweets they found were truly shocking. In one, he had joked about making racist tweets, saying that the only thing stopping him was that Al Sharpton would never stop complaining about me. There were other offensive comments too, and even though he'd written them before joining The Flash, they were still his words. When these tweets came to light, Sawyer tried to apologize. He went on Instagram and said he was apologetic, trying to explain that he'd changed since writing those things.
Just about equality. And that's what that means to me. It's about being equal and having the same opportunities, the same representation.
But the CW, the network that makes The Flash, had a clear policy. They don't accept any kind of racist or discriminatory behavior. The company didn't even hesitate. They announced that Sawyer wouldn't be there for season 7 of The Flash. They made a really strong statement saying they do not tolerate derogatory remarks that target any race, ethnicity, national origin, gender, or orientation. Number 5, Lea Michele. A tweet of support backfires so smoothly. This is a story of how showing support for Black Lives Matter led to someone's own racism history being exposed. In May 2020, Lea Michele, who was known for playing Rachel Berry on Glee, tweeted about being shocked and sad by George Floyd's death and supporting Black Lives Matter. But her tweet opened a door for her past that she probably wished had stayed closed. Samantha Ware, who had acted with Michele on Glee, saw the tweet and couldn't stay quiet. Ware shared her own experience of working with Michele, and it wasn't really a good experience. She said Michele had made her first TV job a living hell and had even threatened to shit in my wig. These weren't just mean comments. They were racist microaggressions that made Ware question if she even wanted to live in Hollywood. Michele tried to handle the situation by apologizing, but her sorry made things even worse because she said she didn't remember doing these things to Ware. This made people even more angry about how she did not remember being so cruel to someone. The consequences were very fast. HelloFresh, a meal delivery company that paid Michele to promote their products, immediately broke their partnership with her. They made it clear they do not condone racism nor discrimination of any kind. Number 4, John Mayer. Now, have you ever wondered how a single interview can bother a celebrity's reputation? Or how can attempts to edgy humor expose really deep racial biases? Back in March, John Mayer was already known as a very talented guitarist and sometimes the top controversial figure in pop culture. But few could have anticipated the storm that would follow his Playboy magazine interview. The real question is, What made his comments so specifically problematic? During the interview, Mayer was asked about whether African American women were attracted to him. His response? Well, that's where things went crucially wrong. Instead of giving a simple answer, he launched into a series of racially charged comments, comparing his different dating preferences to white supremacy and making brutal remarks about specific black actresses. The most striking part, Mayer appeared to think that he could get away with these comments by just wrapping them in what he apparently considered humor. He even claimed that black people loved him, as if that would somehow make his offensive remarks acceptable to everyone. Richard T. Ford, an expert on race relations, put it perfectly when he compared Mayer's failed attempt at edgy humor to Sarah Silverman's more successful handling of racial sarcasm. While Silverman manages to be both funny and thought-provoking, Mayer's comments came across as simply offensive and very boring. Perhaps the only realistic thing Mayer said in the entire interview was his own admission. I think the world would be better off if I stopped doing interviews. Given the controversy that followed, this might have been the most accurate statement of all.
I wanted to send out a very special apology to specifically the fans who are here tonight. I'll get to those watching on YouTube later.
Number 3, Paris Hilton. Paris Hilton, the hotel heiress turned media personality, has recently opened up about a darker chapter of her past in her record, Paris, the memoir. While many know her as the star who popularized phrases like, "That's hot," there's a more complicated story beneath the surface. Before she became a household name, young Paris was sent to Provo Canyon School, a psychiatric youth facility. Behind its walls, she claimed she endured sexual abuse and grooming that left deep emotional scars. In her memory, Hilton confronts her past use of various slurs, which include callous and homophobic language. She joins these actions to both her PTSD and Provo and her struggles with alcohol. However, what's particularly striking is her refusal to hide behind these explanations as mere excuses. "Sometimes I was just wasted and being a effing moron," she admits openly, admitting that while her trauma affected her filter, her behavior under the influence was still her very own responsibility. Number 2, Justin Bieber. What drives a teenage superstar to make racist jokes? And how does it come back to haunt them years later? The path from child star to controversial artist is one we've seen many times before. Justin Bieber, who rose to fame as an innocent 13-year-old YouTube sensation, found himself at the center of a disturbing controversy when the Sun newspaper exposed a troubling video from 2011.
Why are black people afraid of chainsaws?
Don't even say it.
In the footage, a young Bieber is seen relaxing on a chair with his friends, but what happens next shocked his millions of fans. The singer tells a racist joke targeting black people, using the N-word repeatedly with chainsaw noises. Even more telling are the voices in the background trying to stop him, suggesting awareness that this behavior was extremely wrong. The timing couldn't have been worse for this star. The video emerged during what was already an unstable period in Bieber's life. He was facing legal troubles on multiple fronts, such as the DUI charge in Florida, an assault case in Toronto involving a limousine driver, and a trashing investigation for allegedly trashing his neighbor's house. Some of Bieber's teammates reportedly suggested he could have used the word motorcycle instead, a detail that highlights how even those around him recognize the inappropriate nature of his words, while seemingly trying to find ways to minimize the effect rather than address the issue. And number 1, Donald Trump. How did one of America's most controversial presidents repeatedly find himself at the center of racism allegations? During a presidential debate in a darkened auditorium, a moment occurred that froze years of racial controversy.
I am the least racist person. I can't even see the audience because it's so dark, but I don't care who's in the audience. I'm the least racist person in this room.
"I am the least racist person," claimed Donald Trump. I can't even see the audience because it's so dark, but I don't care who's in the audience. You might wonder what led to this defending statement. Well, let's go back to the start. The story starts with an escalator ride that would change American politics forever. In 2015, Trump launched his presidential campaign by going down the golden escalator in Trump Tower. During his announcement speech, he made controversial comments about Mexican immigrants, setting a tone that would follow throughout his presidency. But this was just the very beginning. What followed was a series of activities and policies that critics pointed to as evidence of racial bias, thereby implementing a ban on travelers from several Muslim-majority countries, commonly called the Muslim ban. His response to the Charlottesville rally, where he told very fine people on both sides, and his infamous exchange about the Proud Boys, where he said, "Stand back and stand by." His communication style was compared to a dog whistle about as big as a foghorn, meaning his messages, while sometimes seemingly innocent on the surface, were interpreted by many as containing coded racist messages. Despite repeatedly claiming to be the least racist person, Trump's presidency was marked by his policies and statements that many saw as racial tensions. From his comments about S-hole countries to his criticism of Black Lives Matter protesters, his words and actions predominantly sparked debate about racism in American politics. The pattern deeply led critics to argue that he pours fuel on every single racist fire. And that's a wrap, guys. Thanks for watching. Hit that like button if you loved our video and comment your views in our comment section. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel so that you never miss any updates from us. Take care.